Welcome to Margin Notes, the podcast where we unpack powerful ideas from books that challenge how we think, work, and live. Today, we're diving into The Zen of Business by Keith Edward Roberts III, a bold fusion of Buddhist philosophy and modern entrepreneurship. We'll explore how to lead with purpose, stay sane in a high-pressure world, and build a business that aligns with your values. Let's get into it.
You know, in today's business world, it feels like there's just this constant pressure, right, to achieve. And finding any kind of balance or real purpose and all that, it's tough.
It really is. It's relentless.
Okay, so let's get into that.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what we try to do here on the Deep Dive. You've given us some really interesting material to work with. And our job, like always, is to dig in, pull out the core insights, and hopefully give you a clear path to understanding it all.
Sounds good. And today, we're looking at a book you sent over, The Zen of Business by Keith Edward Roberts III.
Exactly. And this isn't your typical business book, is it? It's more like a blend, a fusion.
Yeah, it mixes Buddhist ideas, Eastern wisdom, and applies it all to, well, modern leadership challenges.
Right. So our mission today for this deep dive is really to find those practical tools, those perspectives you can actually use. Things that help you find success, but, you know, without losing your mind or your integrity along the way.
Or that desire to actually make a positive difference, too.
Exactly. That positive impact piece is key.
And what makes it interesting, I think, is the author's own story. It wasn't like he just woke up with these ideas.
No, definitely not. He talks about questioning religion really early on.
Right. Then a period of atheism, finding entrepreneurship.
And then eventually connecting with Buddhism. And all of that kind of culminates in his agency, Zen Man.
A great name, considering the journey.
It really is. Okay, so let's jump into the foreword and preface. Right away, he hits you with this big question, doesn't he?
Yeah, basically. Can you actually be successful in business and stay calm inside and make a positive impact? Is that even possible?
It's the central tension, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the foreword calls the book our roadmap for living with purpose, integrity, and impact. That really sets the tone.
It does. It speaks to that feeling that maybe you don't have to choose between success and, well, being a decent human being with some inner peace.
It suggests integration is possible, not just a trade-off.
And I liked how he tackles the whole hustlepreneur thing head on in the preface.
The cold plunges and all that.
Well, yeah. Like, he basically says, look, those things might be fine, but they're not some magic bullet for business success.
It's refreshingly realistic, isn't it, in a world full of quick-fix promises?
Totally. He's saying true success, it seems, comes from something deeper, like aligning your values and actions.
Exactly, not just external hacks. And he's very clear he wants to help you, the listener, learn from his mistakes.
Avoid the potholes, as he calls them.
Right, and maybe spot the opportunities he found. It's like getting advice from someone who's already walked that path.
Okay, so the book properly starts with his backstory, becoming Zen Man. He talks about questioning things really young, like the Adam and Eve story.
Yeah, and how it clashed with his interest in dinosaurs, that kind of early critical thinking.
Haven't we all had those moments where the stories just don't quite line up with what we see or learn?
For sure. It shows that curiosity. And then that story about his friend Mike in biology.
Oh, the one who closed the textbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they got to evolution, just totally shut down to ideas that challenged his beliefs.
That really shows the contrast, doesn't it? Openness versus a closed mind. And that obviously stuck with the author.
It did. And he mentions feeling like, what if I was born in the wrong place? That questioning of your environment.
Which feels pretty universal, I think, that search for understanding where you fit.
And all this questioning, it led him towards science and what he calls a 4-year period as a devoted atheist.
So a real intellectual journey even before Buddhism came into the picture.
Exactly. It's setting the stage for more exploration later on.
Now, the shift to entrepreneurship is fascinating. He first hears the word in 7th grade.
Right, in economics class.
And the teacher paints this picture of hardship, failure, maybe even ruin.
You'd think that would put anyone off.
But it did the opposite for him. He was drawn to it.
Which really highlights that founder mindset, doesn't it? Seeing challenges as opportunities, not just roadblocks. A total perspective shift.
Definitely. He even says if someone tells him he can't do something, it just motivates him more.
Classic. And then he brings in Robert Frost's poem, The Road Less Traveled.
Ah, yes. Choosing the unconventional path.
That clearly resonated. The idea that taking the path less trodden made all the difference. It's about embracing those less obvious routes.
Such a powerful message for anyone starting something new, and then his middle school teacher doubles down.
Saying, you can't build your own business, you will fail.
Wow. Talk about fuel for the fire.
It's amazing how often that negativity can actually be a catalyst.
So, right then, at 12, he sets this goal. Own a business before 30.
Ambitious. And he mentions that Michelangelo quote, too.
About aiming high.
Yeah, that the real danger isn't missing a high goal, it's hitting a low one. Aim big.
Underscores the need for big aspirations.
And then the poker analogy comes in. Scared money never wins.
Ooh, I like that. Explain that a bit.
Well, it's about mindset, right? Operating from abundance, possibility, not fear or scarcity, especially in negotiations or when taking risks.
Because desperation is never a strong position.
Exactly. You need that confidence, that abundance mindset.
So, okay, he's got this entrepreneurial drive, this atheist background. How does the Zen part come in? It starts in college, right? With someone named Lobsang.
Yes, meeting Lobsang seems to have been a huge turning point, really shifted his perspective.
How so? What does Lobsang introduce him to?
Well, concepts that just clicked with him, apparently. Different from the dogma he'd rejected before. The first big one was moderation.
Moderation.
Yeah, the idea that extremes, either total indulgence or harsh self-denial, don't lead to understanding. It's a core Buddhist idea, finding that middle path.
Which, as he says, was a big change from his life as a, chain-smoking bartender?
Ah, yes, quite the contrast.
Yeah.
So it wasn't instant, but Lobsang planted that seed, started shifting him toward more clarity, more balance.
Shows the power of just one meaningful connection sometimes.
Absolutely. And over the next few years, he really dove into Buddhist philosophy, eventually embraced the three jewels.
Which are?
Buddha, the teacher, Dharma, the teachings, and Sangha, the community.
Gotcha. And he notes that back then, early 90s, this was pretty uncommon for a Westerner.
Right. Led to some lively family debates, apparently. But it shows he wasn't afraid to follow that unconventional path again.
Okay, so fast forward. How does he start blending these two worlds, business and this spiritual path? He notices Zen becoming trendy in business.
Yeah, lots of company names using the word now. But when he started his own agency, it wasn't like that.
He was freelancing first, right?
Yeah.
Unhappy in a job.
Exactly. Until a severance package gave him the freedom to finally launch his own thing, hitting that goal he set back in 7th grade.
Seizing the moment. And the name Zenman
Came from the reality. He was, in his words, a Buddhist creative guy building websites under the stairs in his loft.
Love that. It's so authentic. Just embracing who he was right then.
And he talks about some pretty creative, maybe slightly sneaky ways he got clients early on.
Like pretending to be an out-of-towner?
Yeah, in Denver's development scene, to find projects that needed a website. Shows that resourcefulness, that willingness to try anything.
That entrepreneurial hustle. And it clearly worked. Zenman grew into a serious agency.
Yeah, big clients, airlines, Fortune 500s, a startup that went public, a real success story built over like 20 years.
But then 2017 happens. He has this big realization.
A moment of clarity, yeah. He realized the business, despite its success, was just trading his time, his most limited resource, for money.
That's a powerful insight. Makes you think about the real cost of what you're doing.
For sure. So he pivoted, shifted from doing work for others to creating tools for personal growth, starting with the OK Journal.
And that led to speaking gigs, but about the journal, not digital marketing.
Right. Following his passion opened up unexpected doors.
And then came the really serendipitous part. Selling the agency.
Totally unexpected. Met someone at a conference in Peru who, just out of the blue, wanted to buy Zenman.
Wow.
And a few months later, it was sold. Cleared the path for him to focus on writing and speaking. Shows how unpredictable opportunities can be.
What a story. But the unpredictability didn't stop there, did it? The car accident.
Yeah, a near-fatal crash on his way to speak somewhere. Walked away, amazingly, and still gave the keynote.
In shock, apparently. Just wild. Really hammers home that point about life being unpredictable. Impermanence.
Definitely. Probably deepen his understanding of that concept, which we'll get into more. And he stresses staying curious, keeping an open mind, even when you're an expert.
To avoid just confirming what you already think. True learning.
Which leads him to a really fundamental point. Listen more than you speak.
Ah, yes. The gap between how fast we talk and how fast we think.
Exactly. It makes us impatient. We're busy figuring out our reply instead of really hearing the other person. Creates a barrier.
And in business, that could be really damaging, right? People don't feel heard.
Totally. It shuts down ideas. He uses Lincoln's cabinet as an example, deliberately including diverse, even opposing views. The value in truly considering different perspectives.
That connects perfectly to his next point. Stop trying to solve everyone else's problems.
Right. The intention might be good, but constantly giving advice, it can actually hold people back.
Both the giver and the receiver, maybe.
Yeah. And besides, very few people actually like being told what to do. Sharing your experience is often way more helpful.
Empowers them to find their own solutions.
Yeah.
Because your solution might not work for them anyway.
Exactly. Fosters that self-reliance.
Okay, so then the book starts digging into some core Buddhist principles. The Four Noble Truths. He starts with the 4 signs.
Right, what Siddhartha saw. Old age, sickness, death, and then a meditating monk. These really shook him and started his quest.
They showed him the reality of human existence.
And he realized suffering goes beyond just those things. It's also, life not meeting our expectations, or even the good stuff not lasting. Which brings us to the first noble truth, dukkha.
The truth of suffering, or unsatisfactoriness. It's inherent in life.
Yeah, and the key insight for business is just accepting that challenges will happen. It's how you respond that counts.
He gives some solid business examples of dukkha, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, closing a business, cash flow problems, difficult clients, team issues. It's all part of the territory. Suffering isn't the exception, it's baked in.
So what's the cause? That's the second noble truth, right? Samudaya.
Exactly. The cause of suffering is identified as desire, or craving tanha. Craving for stuff, pleasure, status, wanting reality to be different than it is.
And he makes a crucial distinction here.
Yes. It's the desire, the clinging itself, not necessarily the thing you desire that causes the suffering.
That craving manifests as the 3 poisons.
Greed, desire, ignorance of delusion, and hatred aversion. A powerful framework for understanding what drives our discontent.
So is setting goals bad then?
No, not inherently. He clarifies that. The problem comes when we use goals to constantly measure our self-worth, compare ourselves to others. That's where the suffering kicks in.
Because external wins are fleeting anyway. Lasting happiness isn't just about outcomes.
Right. He talks about the feast or famine cycle on his agency, and that weird thing where losing something hurts way more than gaining the same thing feels good.
Oh yeah, loss aversion. That's a real psychological thing. A big source of business stress.
For sure. So, how do you start reducing this dukkha in business? His first step is crucial.
Financial clarity.
Deep financial clarity. Know your numbers inside out. COGS, overhead, reserves, forecasting models. It reduces uncertainty, which is a huge source of anxiety. Empowers better decisions.
Then he talks about client-related suffering. We've all been there, right? The demanding client, the ghosting client.
Definitely. But he stresses you need to consciously attract and keep the right clients.
How do you do that?
Through your business atmosphere, your culture, your pricing, your advertising, intentionally build a brand that resonates with the people you actually want to work with.
He tells that story about his first client, the asbestos company.
Yeah, and how they treated them like gold, which does 2 things. Builds your reputation for reliability.
And gives you great case studies to attract more clients. Win-win.
But he also says you sometimes have to, fire the wrong clients. If a relationship is toxic or just not working, it's better for everyone to move on.
That takes courage, but it's necessary sometimes. Clarity seems to be another huge theme.
Absolutely vital. In business, in life.
Yeah.
From the big 10-year vision down to your return policy. He uses that great analogy.
The rowboat.
Yeah, if everyone's rowing in different directions, you go nowhere. You need that shared understanding of the destination.
Which means communicating that vision often, right? And tracking progress with KPIs.
Constantly. Transparency keeps everyone aligned, paddling together.
And having the right people in the boat is obviously critical.
The right people in the right seats. Even a brilliant person might be wrong for a specific role, like the developer versus salesperson example.
So hiring needs to be really thoughtful.
Super disciplined. He says, evaluate on 3 things: personality fit, ability to do the job, and alignment with the vision and values.
How do you really verify skills, though? Like the creative director portfolio example he gives.
It can be tricky. You need due diligence. Check references beyond the ones they give you. Maybe even use practical assessments.
Like that Pivotal Labs interview process he mentioned, the RPI.
Exactly. Something rigorous to really see their skills in action. But he makes a strong point. Even top performers need to go if they don't align with the vision and values.
Because values act as the filter for decisions.
Right. And he suggests that 10 years from today, exercise to check your own alignment. What would you be proud of? How are your values showing up?
It forces you to look at the big picture. Then he brings it back to personal responsibility.
Yeah, saying a lot of our current struggles, money, relationships, health, are often the result of past choices.
And that quote, if knowledge equaled results, everyone would have six-pack abs.
Huh. So true. It highlights that gap between knowing and doing.
But he ends that section on an encouraging note.
Yeah, basically saying wherever you are right now, that's exactly where you need to start. Take responsibility, gain clarity, find your path.
Which leads nicely into the unalome symbol.
That Buddhist and Hindu symbol for the path to enlightenment. Looks kind of like a winding line that eventually straightens out.
Representing life's journey.
Exactly. The chaotic start, learning through mistakes, and then eventually finding clarity and direction. Life as a twisty road.
He connects it to the Declaration of Independence, too. The pursuit of happiness.
Right. It's not guaranteed happiness. It's the pursuit, the journey itself.
Like that Kobe Bryant quote he shares.
Oh, yeah, about the dream being the hard work, the journey, not just the destination. Embrace the process, the struggle. That's where the growth is.
But staying on that path is hard, which brings up self-sabotage.
Yeah, even once you have direction, internal stuff can pull you off course.
And challenges are guaranteed, right? That's the only certainty.
Which is where impermanence comes in again. Understanding that everything passes helps you navigate those challenges without getting stuck.
What are some common barriers he mentions? Things that cause self-sabotage.
Low self-esteem, fear of failure, imposter syndrome, past trauma. And he uses that three-legged stool analogy.
Personal life, relationships, professional life.
If one leg is wobbly, the whole stool is unstable. Everything affects everything else.
So how do you deal with self-sabotage?
You need to understand the void it's trying to fill. Ask why repeatedly. Dig down to the root cause, which might go way back to early negative beliefs.
Like peeling an onion?
Kind of. And then he gives a tool for identifying those negative thoughts and consciously replacing them with positive ones. Actively break the cycle. Retrain your brain.
Okay, so that leads us to the solution, the path itself. The fourth noble truth, Magga. The Noble Eightfold Path.
Right. Delivered in Buddha's first sermon after enlightenment. And crucially, these aren't sequential steps.
They're parallel practices, right? You work on them all together.
Exactly. And the 8 are right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. A whole framework.
Let's break those down, starting with right understanding, Samadhi.
This is basically how you view the world. It's the foundation for wisdom. You get it by embracing impermanence, thinking about life, death, karma.
How does thinking about future challenges or impermanence help a business?
Well, it fosters realism, adaptability, you're less likely to be blindsided, and maybe you start seeing setbacks differently.
Like maybe that bad thing was actually a gift in disguise.
Exactly. It opens up that possibility, a recurring theme.
Next up, right speech, Samavika.
This is about avoiding harmful talk. Lying, gossip, slander, divisive stuff, and cultivating truthful, beneficial speech. Said with good intentions at the right time. Listening more helps here.
He mentions noble silence too.
Yeah, just not speaking unnecessarily, and that classic grandma wisdom, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Words have power, and you can't take them back.
Okay, then right thought, Samasankappa.
Cultivating wholesome thoughts, free from ill will, cruelty, untruth, focusing on compassion, wisdom. He throws in that George Bernard Shaw quote.
About unreasonable people changing the world.
Highlights the power of conviction. But in business, he stresses data over opinion.
Right. If we have facts, we'll use facts. If we have opinions, we'll just use mine.
Fosters evidence-based thinking. Then he brings in Annie Duke's thinking in bets.
The poker analogy again.
Yeah, relating poker, making decisions with incomplete info to life and business, and explaining resulting bias.
Judging a decision only by the outcome.
Right. Calling a bad decision good if it worked out, or regretting a statistically good choice if it didn't. We can't know the future.
So the key is the process. Make the best decision you can with the info you have, then act.
Exactly. Avoid analysis paralysis. Which is why he likes the iterative approach, like with MVPs. Test assumptions before going all in. The Ibotta example.
Validate with low-fidelity prototypes first. Makes sense. What about discipline?
He calls it the willpower to turn dreams into reality, and offers 3 tools to improve it.
Flow state, MVP approach, and stop starting, start finishing.
You got it. Flow state is that deep focus, optimal performance zone. You get there by removing distractions, focusing on one thing.
He mentioned Zenman had core hours for this. And using an hourglass.
Yeah, simple tricks. And he cites the Flow Research Collective. 2 focused sprints with active recovery can apparently boost productivity massively.
5-fold, he said. Wow. And the MVP approach.
We touched on it. Validate your offer simply before scaling. See failure as data. Fail fast to learn quickly.
And stop starting, start finishing.
Counteracting the pull of shiny new ideas when you need to finish what's already on your plate. He also suggests an exercise. Argue the opposite of a belief you hold.
To build intellectual humility, be open to changing your mind.
Exactly. Keep learning. Stay flexible.
All right. Chapter 6 dives deep into impermanence. We've touched on it, but this is core.
Absolutely fundamental. All things change, decay, die. Nothing is permanent. Understanding this is part of right. Understand.
Just clinging to things as if they were permanent just makes us suffer more.
All right, definitely. Accepting change can be incredibly liberating. This too shall pass applies to good times and bad.
Practicing non-attachment helps release past regrets and future worries.
Anatta, no self.
And Annika,
Yeah.
impermanence.
Yeah.
Lets you be more present. How does this apply specifically in business? Things change fast there.
Super fast. Brands become obsolete. Blockbuster, BlackBerry. Industries vanish. Film processing, video stores, yellow pages. Pivoting is hard. Disruptions come out of nowhere, like ride sharing for taxis.
So embracing impermanence in business means accepting failure is possible even if you do everything right.
Pretty much. Which, paradoxically, frees you up. Less fear, more willingness to take smart risks. Maybe achieve something extraordinary because you're not paralyzed by what-ifs. He talks about his C and D clients becoming A and B clients.
On that difficult partnership story.
Yeah, looked great on paper, ended in losses and litigation. Shows you just don't know. But eventually they surpassed those initial big league clients anyway.
Sometimes not getting what you want is the biggest gift.
That's the idea. Everything unfolds as it should, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. Focus on the present. That's the Buddha quote he shares.
And the tool here is, this too shall pass. Plus that exercise. Imagine your last day.
Powerful stuff. Really makes you think about priorities, forgiveness, living fully now.
Okay, chapter 7. Wabi-sabi. This is a Japanese concept, right?
Finding beauty in imperfection, impermanence. A real antidote to our society's obsession with perfection, especially fueled by media.
So it's about striving for excellence, not some unattainable perfection.
Exactly. Continuous improvement, not flawless endpoints. The 3 principles are acceptance of imperfection, appreciation of transience, and connection to nature.
Tell me more about the nature connection.
Well, it has real physiological benefits. Nature has fractal patterns, Fibonacci structures. Looking at them actually calms our nervous system, reduces cortisol.
So getting outside literally helps combat modern stress, that constant fight or flight.
Acts like a pressure release valve.
Yeah.
And he traces wabi-sabi back to 15th century Japan, those simple Zen monk tea bowls.
How does this apply in business? He mentioned agile development.
Yeah, Agile is all about embracing imperfection, iterating with MVPs, user stories, learning and adapting as you go.
He contrasts that with his old habit of over-polishing websites until they were obsolete.
Right, lost revenue because they were trying too hard for perfection instead of getting something good out there and improving it. He also brings in ukatemo.
That monastic idea of humbly accepting all experiences.
There's freedom in accepting outcomes when you know you've done your best, pursued excellence with integrity.
The tool here involves releasing ego and accepting imperfection through free writing.
Yeah, stream of consciousness writing. Just get ideas down without judgment. Overcomes that fear of not being enough, taps into creativity.
Then he talks about thoughts planting seeds in the mind.
And the power of belief. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Visualization helps align thoughts and energy with goals by clearing out limiting beliefs.
Requires a conscious thought process, letting go of negative stuff.
But the mind wanders, doesn't it? Even during great moments. He uses the concert example people recording instead of experiencing.
The magic of the moment gets lost.
Right. Living in the present lets you reframe or release negative thoughts as they happen, instead of dwelling on past future ones, which makes them stronger. He suggests cultivating goodwill.
Shifting negative thoughts about others into appreciation, assuming positive intent.
Exactly. And he shares that beautiful quote. With our minds, we make the world. Speak or act with kindness, and happiness will follow.
Powerful. So applying right thought in business, where thoughts go, energy flows.
So that's the core idea. Focus shapes reality. Concentrate on abundance, growth, desired outcomes, not scarcity or fear. Play to win, realistically.
Not just wishful thinking, but active focus. He shares that University of Chicago study.
The basketball free throws. Visualization alone produced almost the same improvement as actual physical practice. Mental practice is powerful.
24% improvement for practice, 23% for visualization, 0% for doing nothing. Amazing.
Really shows the mind-body connection. Then there's the Ask Yourself These Questions tool for self-reflection.
And he stresses needing a mindfulness practice to be present, training awareness.
Meditation helps train it, but you need conscious effort all day long.
Okay, chapter 9, releasing the past. Lao Tzu's quote.
Living in the past is depression. Living in the future is anxiety. Living in the present is peace. Profound.
So don't dwell on regrets or fantasies. Experience the now while still learning from the past.
Precisely. And he gives 2 practical tips for staying present.
Limiting email times and silencing the phone.
Yeah. Most jobs don't need instant replies. Focused work is more valuable than constant interruptions. You need strategies for email overload, of course.
Then comes that great parable, the tiger and the strawberry.
Ah, yes. The monk hanging from the vine, tiger above, mice gnawing the vine. But he still enjoys the sweet strawberry right there.
A metaphor for savoring the present moment's sweetness, even with past dangers and future uncertainty looming.
Beautifully put. And Buddha's quote reinforces it. The secret to health is living wisely and earnestly in the present.
Which brings us to Sati in Business Right Mindfulness.
Conscious awareness of the present without judgment, applied to everything you do at work.
The benefits he lists are pretty compelling.
Better focus, less stress, more creativity, better decisions, higher productivity, improved morale. The Aetna study showed over an hour gained productivity per week from one mindfulness activity.
So it's not a distraction, it actually helps productivity.
Exactly, and improves well-being. He repeats the tech-free meeting room idea too. Minimize distractions, increase engagement.
So mindfulness at work means less conflict, better interactions, better focus, better output. Simple, but profound. His reason for meditating.
To bring clarity. And he ends with a quote, linking meditation to wisdom, lack of it to ignorance, choose wisdom.
Okay, chapter 11 circles back to right speech with more tools. Reiterates Buddha's definition.
Truth with benefit. Look inward at negative urges. Reflect. Return to mindfulness. And that in vino veritas, reminder words and actions are irreversible. Be mindful.
Timing is crucial too, right? Compassion.
Praise in public, criticize in private. Wait before speaking, ask. Is it kind? Is it helpful? Listen 80%, speak 20%.
Use a 3-second pause.
Yeah, process thoughts, show you're really listening. And avoid gossip and lies, use the in-the-room test.
What are some specific tools he offers?
What I heard you say was, for clarifying, is there more, to get the full picture. Using someone's name and focusing on nonverbals.
The 738-55 rule. Words are only 7%.
Right. Tone is 38%, body language 55%. Be intentional with your nonverbals. Poker players are masters at this.
And cultivating right speech in the workplace means creating a safe space.
For open communication, healthy debate, where every voice is heard. Avoid groupthink like the Challenger disaster.
Then the tool, a letter that will change a life, writing to people who impacted you.
Yeah, expressing that gratitude. Powerful exercise.
Chapter 12 looks at communication pitfalls, lack of clarity from leadership.
Leads to disengagement, no shared purpose. Leaders need frequent, transparent communication about vision, goals, progress, and recognize people living the values.
Good leaders credit the team for wins, take responsibility for losses.
Exactly. Then there's intentional misrepresentation.
Basically, lying or misleading. Kills trust, obviously.
Need authenticity, ethics. Ask those 3 questions again. Is it true? Necessary? Kind?
An unsafe environment stifles innovation.
Totally. People won't speak up. Leads to groupthink, hidden problems. Toxic workplaces are dangerous. Avoid them. The 3 gates of speech are key filters here.
Transparency builds trust.
Yes. Fosters open communication. Share info. Admit failures. But be smart about it. Protect IP, personal data. Don't be reckless.
Disengagement comes from not listening.
Fools talk. Cowards are silent. Wise men listen. If your audience isn't engaged, the message is lost anyway.
The tool here prompts reflection on communication tools and meetings.
Yeah. Are you using tools effectively? What are response time expectations? How are meetings run? Clarity again.
Okay, chapter 13, time, the most precious resource, linked to right action.
Prioritizing what matters most. Relationships, family, living your potential. That quote about kids spelling love, T-I-M-E.
Oof.
Oh.
Powerful. How we spend time shows our real priorities. It's finite, no refills. The fox and the butterfly parable drives this home.
Live each day fully. Act with purpose, intentional action that harms no one, creates no suffering. He brings back the knowledge versus action gap.
Six-pack abs again. And the G.K. Nielsen quote.
Successful people are not gifted, they just work hard, then succeed on purpose. It's about intentional effort.
The tool aligns priorities and actions. List priorities, then color code your calendar.
Yeah, a visual check. Does how you spend your time match what you say is important?
Chapter 13 is also called Embracing Your Inner Monk. Connects right action to executing your vision.
Right. Understanding and thought aren't enough without action. Treat your body well. Practice mindfulness. He clarifies Zen just means meditation, mindful living.
He critiques the workaholic badge of honor.
And self-imposed stress like checking email first thing. He outlines that flow state routine again. Plan, focus, recover.
Then why we meditate.
Yeah.
Common among high performers, but many quit too soon.
Yeah, thoughts arise, people think they're failing. He uses the Michael Jordan analogy, learning to walk takes practice and falling down. Persevere.
Mentions the Maharishi effect and crime reduction studies.
Intriguing. And lists the huge benefits. Less stress, better sleep, lower BP, better cognition, emotional intelligence, focus, memory, helps trauma, PTSD.
Gamma brainwaves in consistent meditators. High consciousness, focus.
Apparently. And reassures you. You can't do it wrong. Mentions TM as one example.
Chapter 15 applies right mindfulness, Samasati back to business. Conscious presence gave better results.
By removing distractions. Tech-free meetings again for engagement and bonding.
The workplace benefits again.
Uh-huh.
Motivation, problem solving, less stress, memory, harmony through compassion.
Plus the personal benefits for employees. It reduces conflict, improves interactions, focus, output quality, his reason, clarity. Ends with the wisdom ignorance quote.
Chapter 16, the middle way, avoiding extremes.
In everything, indulgence and denial, burnout, laziness, even content consumption. Your diet includes news, social media, be mindful of input.
Aware of energy and intention. Thoughts create seeds. Focusing on negative attracts it.
That's the idea. Worrying about problems might increase their likelihood and doesn't help if you've done all you can. Where thoughts go, energy flows. Be intentional.
Shares his goal-setting process. I am. Mantra, clear picture, feel the goal.
Active envisioning.
Chapter 17.
Right.
Concentration, Samadhi, seeing things as they are.
Objectively, removing the rose-colored glasses. Unbiased decision-making, his lesson. Be realistic, don't plan only for the best case, like the Norwegian South Pole planning.
And challenge is staying focused long-term and present, especially with tech distractions.
Right. And he debunks multitasking again. APA research shows it hurts productivity and cognition.
Need single tasking, minimize distractions.
Which leads to the tool, limiting distractions. Reflect on your distractions, brainstorm solutions. Reflect on negative thought patterns too.
Okay, nearing the end, chapter 23. The enlightened entrepreneur, he doesn't claim to be enlightened, right?
No, just on the path. Says enlightenment is already within everyone. The journey starts by following what feels right. Life is precious, pursue your potential.
Talks briefly about karma.
Yeah, not instant ROI, more long-term cause effect, possibly over lifetimes. And that adage about character.
How they treat someone who can do nothing for them. True measure.
Then the three mountains metaphor.
Self-service money, service to others, service to the world.
Right. Most focus on the first, few reach the second or third. He uses Norman Borlaug as an example of the third mountain, huge global impact.
Inspiring. Okay, final thoughts.
Back to time being precious and uncertain. Use the present wisely. And that final Buddha quote.
In the end, only three things matter. How much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you.
Beautiful.
Really puts things in perspective.
And the final tool, the 4 7s, that intense thought experiment.
Imagine having 7 years left. What would you do? Then 7 weeks, then 1 week. Forces focus on what truly matters each day.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive,
Yeah.
we really covered that blend of Eastern wisdom and practical business advice. Yeah, the importance of mindfulness, ethical action, finding purpose beyond just making money. It's a powerful mix.
It really offers a framework, doesn't it, for a more balanced, maybe more impactful way to approach work and life.
Definitely. It's about integrating these principles for a, I guess, richer existence overall.
So we really hope you, the listener, take some time to mull over these ideas. Think about how they might apply to your own situation.
Which brings us to our final thought for you to chew on. How might truly embracing impermanence and focusing intently on this present moment, how might that fundamentally change how you see your current challenges and your opportunities?
Something to consider. We definitely recommend checking out the full book, The Zen of Business. Maybe reread parts that struck you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this source with us and for joining us on this deep dive today.
Thanks so much for listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this episode, show us some love, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need a little more flow in their life. Until next time, stay curious, stay present. See you soon.